Church Online.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Jamie.
Today we're going to be looking at the escape from the fiery furnace.
But that will be after a time of worship.
Meshach, Shadrach, Abednego. What do you think? What do you know? You're working in the service of a heathen king, so be ready for anything. Nebuchadnezzar was that king. He was a ruler over everything. He wanted those three men to kiss the sod. He wanted them to worship his heathen god. They said, no, we won't bow down, sire, even if you throw us in the furnace of fire. The God we serve is greater than you, and if he chooses, he will come to our rescue. Meshach, Shadrach, Abednego. What do you think? What do you know? You're working in the service of a heathen king, so be ready for anything. Well, Nebuchadnezzar, he got mad. He stoked up the furnace with all that he had. I'll teach them a lesson they will learn. If they won't bow, they'll burn, burn, burn. Meshach, Shadrach, Abednego. What do you think? What do you know? You're working in the service of a heathen king, so be ready for anything. He threw them in the fire, burning hot. Don't mess with me, boys, I call the shots. But much to the crazy king's surprise, God rescued them before his eyes. Meshach, Shadrach, Abednego. What do you think? What do you know? You're working in the service of the King of Kings, so be ready for anything. Meshach, Shadrach, Abednego. What do you think? What do you know? You're working in the service of the King of Kings, so be ready for anything. Be ready for anything. Be ready for anything.
We are continuing our escape series today with the story of the fiery furnace. Now, King Nebuchadnezzar was the king of Babylon, the whole Babylonian empire, and he was a great king. And he let this greatness get to his head because he erected a statue of pure gold in a wide valley. And he had said that everybody had to bow down to this statue. So you can imagine a valley that was flat and wide, and then people would be all around and they could see this statue. They were all to bow down before this statue. Now, which people were these? They were leaders from all over his empire. Every single leader you can think of had to gather to this valley and bow down to the statue. Included amongst these leaders were 3 Hebrew boys. They were officers over Babylon, and their names were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. As I said, bowing down to this statue was a decree, a rule, a law given by the king. And anybody who didn't bow down would be thrown into the fiery furnace. What do you think was the signal for them to know when to bow down? Well, it was when all the musical instruments played at one time. So imagine the drums, the guitars, the harps, the horns, all of them playing at the same time. When that happened, everybody had to bow down and worship this statue. This statue could have been a statue of him or a statue of his god, or whatever the case, it was a huge golden statue. Now it came to pass some Chaldeans, those are Babylonians, who didn't really like the Jews because the Jews only served one God, our God. So they went to Nebuchadnezzar to report the Jewish representatives. Do you know who they were? That's right, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They told the king that there were some people who do not bow down to worship the golden statue when the music plays. King Nebuchadnezzar, he was angry. What? How dare they disobey him? How could anyone dare to disobey his decree? So he sent for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and he asked them if that was true. And they said, yes, that they don't bow down to the golden and worship the golden statue. So he said that he was going to give them another opportunity. When the music plays, that they should bow down and worship the golden statue. If not, they would be thrown into the fiery furnace. The 3 Hebrew boys said to King Nebuchadnezzar, "We don't need to defend ourselves before you. If we are to be thrown into the fiery furnace, then so be it. But we will not bow down and worship your golden statue. The God that we faithfully serve will save us. And even if he doesn't, we will not bow down to serve your God or the golden statue that you have set up." King Nebuchadnezzar was so angry. He was so angry that his face became distorted with rage, and he got the fiery furnace to be heated up 7 times stronger than usual, and then got his strongest soldiers to tie up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and have them thrown into the fire fully clothed. Look, the fiery furnace was so hot that those soldiers got burnt. Anyway, King Nebuchadnezzar was looking into the fiery furnace, and then he became a bit confused. And then he was amazed and jumped up and started to ask his officials, "Was it not 3 men that we threw into the fiery furnace?" They said, "Yes." "Then how come I'm seeing 4 men in the fiery furnace, loosed and walking around, and one of them looks like the Son of God?" So Nebuchadnezzar went to the entrance of the furnace and shouted, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out, come here." And they stepped out of the furnace and were crowded around by the high officers. Their hair wasn't singed, their clothes were not scorched, and they were not even smelling of smoke. There's more to this story, but here we can see how Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego escaped being burnt in the fiery furnace. You can read more about this in Daniel chapter 3. But for today, that's the end of the story.
Hello everybody! So here we have Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego in the fiery furnace, but who is this mysterious 4th figure who looks like the Son of God? Wow, what an amazing escape, what a fantastic account. And as you can see, what I've done is I have drawn the fiery furnace. I've used wax crayon, and then I've painted the fire over the top using watercolour, which is a nice technique because the watercolour doesn't go over the crayon, so it leaves it nice and clear. And then round the edge as a border, I've written this verse from the Bible: "Our God whom we serve is able to deliver us." Daniel 3:17, and that comes from earlier on in the fiery furnace account. So if you'd like to have a go at making one of these, of course you need a blank piece of paper. And if you're using watercolour, like I am, it is ideal to use some sketch pad paper, but I'm just using normal printed paper, and it works out okay as long as you don't get it too wet. Now, first thing you're going to do is draw in our figures, and drawing with wax crayon isn't the easiest thing, so we need to keep them really nice and simple. They can just be kind of like almost like stick people. In fact, you could do stick people, but you might want to give them a bit more substance and have them decide which one's going to be the Son of God, Jesus. I think it was actually Jesus who appeared in the furnace, and have the other ones facing towards him. And for him, just so that it's clear it's Jesus, you can just give him like he's got slightly long hair in his profile. I don't know if Jesus really had long hair or not, but it makes him recognizable. And then all the other ones facing towards him. Here we are, we'll have this one with his arms up as if he's kind of praising. So just really kind of plain, simple outline figures, and then get those coloured in as nice and strongly as you can. Now the next thing to do is, if you want to have this border around the edge, we're going to draw in an oval in pencil as guidelines. And for an oval, it's best just to do it by eye. We're going to rub the pencil out afterwards, so it doesn't matter too much if you have to do a few lines. And then starting at the top, we'll write in our verse: "Our God," and we'll keep turning the paper so we follow around, "whom we serve is able to deliver us." And he did, didn't he? An amazing escape. Daniel, so this is in the book of Daniel, chapter 3, verse 17. So then you've got the reference so that you can go off and read it. So the next thing to do is just rub out those pencil lines, because once you've painted over the top, it's not easy to rub out. In fact, I think it's almost impossible to rub out the lines once you've painted over the top. Now, the lettering, the words, gives you a border, and what we're going to do is try and paint everywhere inside the border. So the whole of the inside is going to be our furnace. So I've got my paints here. This is my old paint box I've had since I was your age probably. And to start with, around the edge, we're just going to keep the colours quite light. I'm obviously using fire colours. What colours do you think that is? Yellow, orange, red. Some things burn with a blue flame, don't they? Gas, but this wouldn't have been a gas-fired furnace, I don't think. I think it probably would have been wood or coal-fired, so it would burn with yellow and orange flames. So just like when we were making our fiery horsemen, do you remember that? I was saying when you're drawing flames, keep your pen moving all the time, or keep your pencil moving, or in this case your brush, and try not to get the paper too wet unless you're using proper watercolour paper, because otherwise it just goes a bit soggy. So start with lots of light colours just to fill in, and then you can start getting a bit more paint on your brush and starting doing some stronger flames. And flames, it's never straight lines, is it? Just keep it curving and kind of curving in towards the centre of the flame. And really, I don't think you can go wrong with this. There's no right or wrong in painting fire. No two fires are ever going to look the same. So however you paint it, that might be how a fire would look. And I've started with yellow, working up to orange, and then I'll put red over the top. But you can always go back, fill in a little bit more. It's fun. It's fun this. I like painting. And I like painting fire. And you can see that it doesn't matter if you go over, if you paint over the figures, because the wax, it won't let the paint settle on top. So you're never going to paint them out. The paint just goes in behind. And they stay nice and bold. And this is really all there is to it. When you're ready, it's finished. And here we have a fantastic picture to remind us of this incredible escape. Well, I hope you enjoy reading the story for yourself, and I hope you enjoyed doing this craft, and I'll see you again next week. Bye for now.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Those names said together are sometimes a tongue twister for me.
The fiery furnace story with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is a story that I will never forget. Do you see what I did there?
What?
I didn't stumble over the three names. On a more serious note, these men were bold and had faith to stand their ground.
I know. It shows their character. It shows the kind of people they were. The great thing is that they knew that the God they serve would back them up.
That's our God. And indeed, God spectacularly backed them up. They were thrown into the fiery furnace, all tied up, and left free. They didn't even smell of smoke.
Yes, it was spectacular.
Can you find any more escapes in this story? That's it for this week.
Till next time.
Bye.